Shalom, Chavarim, from the heart of the world, from Israel. Today, we're learning Mesilat Yesarim. Already, we have done a lot in this book about character traits. Mesilat Yesarim, the path of the just. If you walk this path, then you're working on your character traits. Then you're walking on the path of the just. And it's very important for us to work on our character traits, on our characteristics. We often say to each other about some behavior that's his character, like an excuse. But there's a difference in between what is typical you and what are behaviors that can be changed. And character traits, in the sense of behaviors, can be changed. And that is what we are working on here. And there's a lot to think about and to talk about and in order to make your character traits align with Torah. Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto had very deep insights in this matter, and he wrote them down. And when he flee from Italy, where he was not liked because of his in-depth studies on character traits, he moved to Amsterdam, and there they were already using the invention of the book press, and he got the possibility to put his writings into book form and to publish them to a greater public. And now we recognize Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto as one of the most greatest rabbis on Mussar, Jewish Mussar. Mussar is Jewish ethics, norms and values we hold high and put in practice in our daily life. And along with those norms and values, which are also for Am Israel, as we can find them in the Torah, we also have to work on on a personal level on our norms and values. Well, until now, we have talked about a lot of the virtue of cleanliness. We spent a lot of time about it, and vigilance, protecting. And we started last time with the virtue of abstinence, and abstinence is to decide to withhold you from something or some situation. For example, if you decide that from now on, for 2 weeks, you will not drink coffee, that is abstinence. You take something away from what gives you pleasure, what is not wrong in itself, and you take it away because of some reason. If you do it, if you want to reach a higher level of piety, a higher level of chassidut, then we have to work on the virtue of abstinence. We have to be able to reign over our own emotions and to reign over our own instincts and be mahmir, be strict with ourselves. Great. So we started with abstinence as a first step towards piety, religious devotion, and there are three levels of abstinence. The first level is what the Torah prohibits. The second ones are rabbinic prohibitions, the fences around Torah, and then we have our individual practices that we put on, restrictions that we put on ourselves for ourselves. So let's see where we were. Not all abstinence is good for you, as we will see today. When you excessively restrict yourself in something, it will also lead to damage. So that's also not correct. And the point is that we're often, in this chapter, we're talking about permissible things, but when excessively indulge yourself with permissible things, it will become a damaging thing to you, a damaging behavior. And if you want to correct it, also, if you do excessively restrict yourself in some areas of your life, it can be damaging to your life. So you have to find a balance. Also, not all people are alike. So not everybody is able to put extra restrictions on ourselves in order to be more pious, to be more Hasid. There are a lot of people that have regular lives, and that's okay. If you just keep the restrictions that Torah offers us and the rabbis offer us, you're already okay. But if you want to do that extra step, if you want to put extra effort, if you want to know more and deeper insights about who Hashem is, and if you want to make your connection stronger with Him, deeper with Him, then it is advisable to learn to try to understand and to comprehend what we're talking about today. So the easiest way of abstinence is make sure you're not bringing yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Very easy. Keep your distance to some situations or some gatherings where you're not. Well, in first sight, it's not that you're not allowed to go there, but if you know it will make your eye sin, or it will make your emotions sin, or it may distract you from your Torah studies, don't go there. Don't let yourself be distracted. Keep distance. So, about clothing. We are allowed to wear nice and beautiful and chic clothes, expensive clothes, colorful clothes, whatever you like. What Torah prohibits us is mixed fibers, mixed wool, and mixed linen. We call it kilayim. And we must not do that. So it's important that when you buy your clothes in a store, you always check the label and look at the label if there's wool and linen together in a sweater or in a jacket or in a shawl, then don't wear it. The point is, though we are allowed to clothe ourselves as beautiful as we can, of course, the men have the obligation to wear tzitzit, so you have to take care of that. But our evil inclination, when he sees that we are dressing up ourselves, he immediately awakes. Because why are you dressing up yourself? For who are you dressing up yourself? Are you dressing up for the Erev Shabbat? Baruch Hashem. For Hashem? For Shabbat? Yom Shabbat? Baruch Hashem. But if you every evening of the week or when you go to work, you put extra effort in yourself, put on your nicest clothes, then the evil inclination of us awakes. He is asking, what is going on here? Why is he or she putting so much effort in looking nice, and maybe there's hiding a little secret, and it attracts the wrong emotions because you get attention if you put on nice clothes more than regular clothes. You put on nice clothes and you go to your work, you get a lot of attention from your colleagues and from other persons. Why are you? Why do you want that attention? So it is perfectly allowed to wear nice and beautiful clothes, but it also has to have a function. For example, when I was in Holland, when I was teaching in classrooms, I always wear we call it a colbert, like a jacket that comes normally with a suit. And I like to wear nice ones. I didn't put on a tie because, well, not me, but I still have nice colbert, nice jackets. Um, but why did I put those on? Well, not to get attention, but for a function. It looked that it gave me authority, being dressed more formal, and it helped me in my role and in my way of teaching to the students. So should but my colleagues didn't wear such things. They wear other things what they liked. Was it okay? Yes, it was okay. Was it okay what I wear? Yeah, okay. But imagine that I would come there with a black jacket with white stripes, and my pantalon is very, very sharp ironed, and with the bling shoes, black mirroring shoes, like I was going to some high society party, and then I would be teaching. Then I would get wrong attention because why are you overdressed? So we the wrong attention can lead to sin. So we don't have to bring ourselves in whatever situation. This is just an example of the clothes, in a situation where it will make our evil inclination awake, waiting to be able to push us in the wrong direction. Um, that's also about if you're walking with your friends and you're talking about all kind of things. It's not there's nothing wrong in just having regular talks and talk about a lot of things and just spend time together. The point is, where does it lead to? And if you keep on talking and talking and talking about not important things, it will eventually lead you to talk about uh, prohibited things, and then it's difficult to turn back again to a healthy level of conversation. So we should be aware of that all kind of different situation event which are allowed eventually can lead us to sin. So in order to not to sin, we have to restrict ourselves a little or a lot, not to be in those situations or not to be long time in such situation, but just for a short time, functional time. You've shown your face. You was on the on the where you were invited for somewhere, and you went there and you was there and you showed your face. Then you go home. You've done your job. Mm, so the positive type of abstinence requires that one use only what is absolutely essential. One must not benefit from anything in the world than what is essential to one's individual nature. And that is what Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, extolled himself in the previously mentioned passage, that he never derived any pleasure from this world, not even in the smallest thing. He wanted to keep himself kadosh, holy, set apart for Hashem, and he didn't want to be infected by possible situations that could derive from permitted situations. So he was very strict, and he kept himself on a distance from a lot of things and situations and seductions. So why didn't our sages not just give us more norms, more rules? We have the Torah, and then the rabbis, the sages, gave us extra fences, protection rules to not to surpass, in order that we would surpass the Torah laws. But they did not do it in every aspect of our life. Why didn't they do it? Well, that's because not everybody is able and is called to live a pious life, to live a chassidut life. And so for all those that are living regular lives, they just can abide by Torah and the rabbinical laws that are regular. And if you want to be more dedicated and more strict with yourself, then you should think about which restrictions you can take upon on yourself and that are good for you. And then you will be able, if you are able to restrict your emotions and you restrict to your impulses, your instincts, and dedicate that time to Hashem and to Torah study, then you will become stronger, more, you will have more vigilance, more protection, and also it will bring yourself in a more intimate relationship with Hashem. What also can happen is that we put too much restrictions on ourselves. So, harmful abstinence, however, resembles the ways of the foolish Gentiles who do not only refrain from what is unessential, but also deny themselves what is essential, and chastise themselves often in strange ways, which the HaKadosh Baruch Hu totally rejects. So it's one thing. Well, we have talked about clothes. Let's talk about food. You can put a restriction on yourself not to eat sweets and not to eat cakes and just eat healthy. But you can also put restrictions on yourself. Let's say you're decided to do, you will be fasting every week at least 2 days. So then, if that is not functional, well, let's say it's not functional, it can hurt your body, your physical health. So if your restrictions are going so far that it will hurt your own self, then it's not beneficial anymore. It's not what it's allowed to, you're not allowed to do things that harm yourself physically, that harm yourself spiritually, that harm your nefesh, your soul. And we have to be very wise in those restrictions that you can put on yourself to be more, to experience more the virtue of abstinence in order to come closer to Hashem. You have to be careful for you. You cannot play with your own life by being so strict for yourself that it's dangerous for your health. So you have to take care for your physical well-being. Rav Hillel said, he used to say, one who is beneficent to his own soul is a pious person. What he meant is, if you eat just every morning, you start your morning with a good breakfast, then you are really beneficial for your own soul. You get a good start, your body starts off with good energy, you are fully aware, and you are fully capable of perceiving more of what Hashem wants to teach you that day. Um, so the fundamental rule to be derived from this is as follows: a person should abstain from any worldly matters that are unessential. On the other hand, anything that he regards as essential, for whatever reason, he must not abstain himself for. So we have to take care of this body. We can put restrictions on ourselves, physical restrictions, spiritual restrictions, as long as it doesn't hurt our well-being. A person has to decide those things for himself. Like I said, like Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto said, our sages did not give specific rulings for how to practice the virtue of abstinence in a individual, personal way. They teach us, for the general public, how to live a righteous life, but we are not learning about how to live a righteous life. We want to do that step extra, how to live the path, the life of the just, how to live a pious life, how to put into practice chassidut, and how to work on our character traits. There is responsibility with you and I on a personal level. And we have to be aware of it, that we take good care of ourselves in all this. So it is impossible to assemble all the specifics since they are so numerous and one man's mind cannot encompass all of them. Rather, one must deal with them one by one, each on its appropriate time. What does that mean? It means that if you are working on your character traits and you figure out that you have to work on, like, say, 4 areas in your life, and you start working on them, all 4 of them at once, and you put a lot of restrictions on yourself in order to force yourself into becoming a better person, and you overdo. It's too much for you. You will collapse eventually. What Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto says is, do it step by step. Start with one thing, and once you are a master, when you've reached that level of chassidut with that one character trait, then you can move on to another. If you do everything at once, eventually you will be your energy will be drained out, and your spiritual energy will be drained out, and you end up with having a miserable life. So just step by step, we have enough time to work on ourselves. If you start working on yourself with the good intentions and you do it step by step, eventually you will reach that completely pious life. Chapter 14 about the elements of abstinence consists of 3 major elements: abstinence from pleasures, abstinence in halachic matters, and abstinence in social conduct. So abstinence from pleasures, one should not take anything from the sphere of the worldly matters other than what is essential for you. So it includes anything that is pleasurable to your senses, like food. We need food. Intimate, marital, within your marriage relationships, clothing, walking around, auditory sensations, etc. But we have to be aware, again, we have to be aware that that it has to be leveled out, not excessively. Okay, there is abstinence in halachic matters consists of being continually stringent. So if you take upon yourself to be more stringent, let's say like a Nazir, you decide you don't want to drink wine anymore because you feel that it will help you in comprehend more about Hashem and His creation. That's okay. You can do that. So you can be stronger for yourself, but don't be 1 week you don't drink and 1 week you drink a sip and the next week you drink a glass and the third and fourth week again you don't drink. If you decide for yourself that that is something you should take upon yourself, not to drink any wine, not to drink wine anymore, because that is, well, maybe you have bad experience with it in the past. Okay, be continually stringent with it. That means be steady, be firm. Don't drink, don't touch, don't smell. Don't buy a bottle of beer, don't buy a bottle of wine for somebody else because it comes close and you don't want that. So if you decide for yourself not to drink anymore, you make that decision between you and Hashem, and be stringent to yourself continuously. It says here, one should consider even a minority viewpoint in a dispute if it seems justified. So we have sometimes halachic rulings that are more lenient and sometimes halachic rules that are more stringent. And if you want to be and to work on your abstinence in halachic matters, then you should consider to always choose the strengthened way for yourself. You cannot force it on somebody else. You cannot force it on your community. It's for yourself. And one should be strengthened when in doubt, even where one could be lenient. What we and my wife always in a situation where we are doubting whether it is good to do or not good to do, if we should decide yes or no, as long as there is doubt, we cannot decide yes. We have to wait, or it's a no. Only where there's no doubt anymore, you can make a clear, balanced decision. And as long as that is not the case, it will be no. It will be no. We cannot decide on this. We will not do it for now until we have no doubt anymore if it is good for us. So abstinence regarding things that are close to being forbidden. Let's say in Chulim 37, the statement of Yecheskel, my soul has not been defiled. We can read it in Yecheskel 4:14. It means, I have not eaten from any animal that required a rabbinic decision, and I have not eaten from the meat of an animal that had to be slaughtered quickly. All of this is definitely permitted by law, yet nonetheless, he decided to be stringent with himself. Why? Well, those who practice abstinence must not allow themselves to be guided by what is permissible for the whole of Israel. They must distance themselves from what is repugnant and from what is ever is similar to it and from whatever is similar to that. So if you decide for yourself, be extra strengthened and not extra lenient. Abstinence in social conduct is like, it's more an emotional thing, and consists of solitude and separation from society. Well, if you separate yourself completely from society, you lock yourself up, then you will become a strange person. the day that you need to go out or need to go to the city for something or to somewhat or to the supermarket, people will negatively be affected by the stranger you have become. We cannot be extreme in the things we do. So abstinence in social conduct we have to use to free one's heart for the service of Hashem, but not more than necessary. So we should join company of good people for as long as it may be necessary for his Torah study or for earning a livelihood. And afterwards, you can seclude yourself, so you lock yourself up in order to cleave to Hashem and to attain the ways of the righteousness and the true service of the eternal. Yes, there is time. If you take upon yourself to be to seclude yourself, so to lock yourself up for an hour or two, be totally alone yourself, you and Torah, you and Hashem. That's a good thing to do. But if that's the only thing you do, then you will become a strange person. So Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto says you should join the company of good people. You should study Torah together with others. So it will make you keep in contact with what is normal. And how long? Well, you need to practice. You need to practice to behave yourself in a normal way in public situations. And you have to learn that when you seclude yourself, when you restrict yourself, in this example, to lock yourself up somewhere to study Torah for a few hours, you have to develop a healthy rhythm in it until it becomes a second nature. What becomes a second nature? Well, if you lock yourself up for an hour and it is a second nature, then you get the fully 100% of that time what you need in that hour. So you don't need to be there. You don't need to be there 4 days in a row locked up without eating and drinking, because then you're endangering your own health, your physical health and your spiritual health. So you have to train yourself to be productive in the times that you seclude yourself, when you take time for yourself to be with Hashem and to study, to learn and to pray, but only as long as necessary. And you have to restrict yourself or to guide yourself, to protect yourself in all those situations when you are in public. Because if you are misbehaving in public situations, it will also affect the time and the connection you wanted to have when you seclude yourself, to when you set yourself apart to have time with Hashem and Torah and study. So in the common situations, you should restrict yourself, behave yourself, be strengthened on yourself, protect yourself. And if you live a holy life outside your own bubble, outside your own house, your own environment, you can be the same person when you are in your house and when you are in your study room or your study place or your study space. It is both. It builds up both together. If you know how to handle yourself in all kind of different ways, in normal situations, in everyday situations, you will be stronger and stronger and stronger. Then it will become a second nature to yourself. Then you know how to behave in public situations, and also it becomes a second nature to yourself that the moments that you do exclude yourself to spend for Torah study or to pray, it will be effective time. You will be able to enter the intimacy with Hashem immediately without having the need of cleaning yourself from all the filth you are carrying with you from the day that when you were walking or in the street or attending regular activities. Because if those activities and the time that you spend on the street affect you so much because you feel the pressure to be participating in things that you know are not good for you. It will blur your mind. It will be not offense. It will be it will make you. It will give you a headache because if you have to get rid of all that fog in your head. It is like a fog. It will blur your vision on what Hashem wants to tell you. It blurs your vision on what He wants you to learn. So there's a lot of things we learned. We have to restrict ourselves on different areas in our of our well-being, of who we are, on our lives, in order to work on our character traits. But we cannot restrict ourselves in excessively matters, because then it will also hurt ourselves. So we have to train ourselves how to restrict ourselves if necessary, so that we can function normally in public situations and behave ourselves and not only behave, but just act normal. And not if you go to a wedding and you drink one wine and you get drunk already from it and you start dancing like a fool, and the next day you will give a shiur on some subject of Torah, people will think back on what happened yesterday. So it affects you, it affects them, and the things that you want to say are without authority. But if you restrict yourself, you don't drink that wine, you don't dance excessively, or you don't dance at all, because you know that's a dangerous path of you. It's a slope, so you don't go there. You just enjoy sitting and watching and talking. Then it will make you stronger, because the next time you are in a similar situation, it is easier to behave, to restrict yourself, and the next time you are having your study time or your prayer time, it will be also easier for you, because you didn't give in to the seductions. It's not a good word, seductions, but to worldly matters, and makes you stronger, makes your character stronger. It frees your heart from. You have to free your heart for the service of Hashem. So all those things that blur your vision, that hold you back, you have to work on it. You have to get rid of it, so that you will be able to come in closer contact with Hashem. Tov. Chavarim. We've come to the end of chapter 14, the elements of abstinence. We did 2 chapters today, and next time we will continue with chapter 15, acquiring abstinence. I wish you a lot of insight and wisdom to put in practice what we learned today, and I want to encourage you that to buy the book, The Path of the Just, written by Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. You can buy it at Feldheim, but you can also buy it in other websites and other bookstores when they sell Jewish study books, and then you can read it and restudy it yourself and learn from it. Of course, we're not going into all the small details when we're learning, so you need really to get yourself this book to be able to work on your character traits and become a dedicated person walking the path of the just. Okay, Shabbat Shalom for now. Hope to meet you next time. Thank you for learning together. I really enjoyed it, and I hope we'll meet someday again in real life, not just on the video. But for now, good night, bye-bye, litraot.